just something? Welcome back, kids. It's time for another video about a car I swapped due to my severe lack of self-control. This is a 99 Subaru Legacy. You might remember it from a previous video where I woke it from the dead after I impulse bought it for $600. I got it up and running by performing the very complicated task of plugging the ECU in. After that, I drove it around for a while, but there was a leak that dripped oil directly onto the exhaust headers. And, as we know, the only way to fix this issue is to pull the entire engine and swap it with a newer, more powerful one. And hell, while we're in there, we might as well manual swap it, right? So this thing came to me with an EJ22 strapped to the world's laziest slush box, and I obviously couldn't just leave it at that. So I asked you, my dear viewers, what I should do with this car. A pretty large number of you suggested an H6 swap, and even if you didn't, I was probably going to do it anyway. I've wrenched on countless Subarus at this point, but I still haven't played with an H6 until now. So I bought a JDM EZ30R, slapped her into the old shitbox, did a wee little manual swap, and now I'm in the process of beating it senseless to see if something will break. Now I opted to go with the newer version of the engine with the plastic intake manifold. I'm what you might call an electronic throttle body enjoyer, because messing with cables is cringe. Plus, they're easy to wire, easy to tune with, and let me turn on things like rotational idle. Does this car need rotational idle? No. Am I still going to use it to impress the boys at the Walmart parking lot meets? You bet your ass. Now this engine also has some little tricks up its sleeve, including one that not many people know about. It has VTEC. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start with the basics. This is the easiest engine swap I've done in recent years. I've got a solid 5 weekends into this build and I wasn't even trying. Shit, it only took me 3 hours to pull the original engine and trans.
This car drove into this bay approximately 2 hours ago, by the way. Started this product 227. It is 4:53.
How long is that?
Not quite 2.5 hours. Not quite.
Ooh. I've done better, but I'll take what I can get with the jank we saw. For 600 bones, this car has been very good to me. I've only broken a single bolt, which in the Rust Belt is about as rare as finding an unclapped Honda Civic. And that's the thing that kind of keeps bringing me back to Subarus. They're just so damn easy to work on, which is good because you're going to be working on them. Look, this engine just fits right in there. The bell housing, the engine mounts, the clutch, it's the same as the 4-cylinders. These Subarus are basically Legos and you can mix and match practically anything. So here's a fun little fact. The cars these 6 cylinders came in were all automatics, at least here in the States. No manual 6 cylinders here, champ. So what that means is, I'm one of the few Americans to have driven a manual 6-cylinder Subaru. What can I say? It's lonely at the top. But again, it's a Subaru, so of course the EJ flywheel and clutch just bolts right up. Now, I did have to do some custom fabrication to get this thing to run. Well, calling what I do fabrication is an insult to actual fabricators, so let's just say I had to make some stuff. 2 custom items, exhaust headers, and a coolant crossover. Okay, I didn't have to make my own headers. There are some that you can order, but they're pretty expensive and have a really long lead time. I'm cheap and impatient, so I decided to do things myself. I ordered some flanges and some standard exhaust header tubing and just fucking made it work, I don't know. I've never made headers in my life, and boy, these ones are ugly. I'm not gonna even show them on screen because the welds are just too embarrassing. Actually, you know what? Fuck that. I'm tired of all the hate guys like me get for our nasty welds. In a world of Instagram welders and walk the cuppers, we catch a lot of heat when we're just trying to have a good time. So here's the welds. Are they ugly? Yes. Would they make my high school shop teacher cry? Also yes. But are they functional? You betcha. Anyone who has an issue with these welds can talk to me when they show up in their H6 swapped Legacy. And to all you booger welders out there, you're doing just fine.
Dude, sucking at something is the first step towards being sorta good at something.
Also, it is a Subaru, so notice how they're unequal length headers. Have a listen. Totally did that on purpose. Definitely didn't do it because it was the easiest and cheapest route to go. Now, I don't really have a sense of what a good exhaust note sounds like. I just don't give a shit. But my friends do, and every single one of them has said the same thing. Oh, well, it's unique. Yeah, it's unique. Very unique. which is basically the oh bless her heart of the automotive world. I also had to make a custom coolant crossover. Now the EJs normally have this hidden under the intake manifold, but I guess the H6 didn't have room. So normally this engine would plumb up to a radiator that has 2 upper coolant inlets, but I don't have one of those, and a new radiator is expensive. So instead, I went with the much cheaper option of buying a TIG welder, which I then used to make a custom coolant crossover. Boom! Impulse buy justified. Now basically it just joins those 2 coolant ports into one and brings that out to the stock radiator, and there's a little bleed port to get the air out of the thing. So what you're seeing here are my first ever aluminum welds. I ran a few test beads on some scrap and went right to work on this bad boy. I don't got time to make pretty welds, I want this damn thing to run, and run it does. And if you'd believe it, I actually ran into some cooling issues. Nothing to do with this setup, actually. Turns out the lower radiator hose was leaking. But I did use that as an excuse to buy a full aluminum radiator from eBay. God, I fucking love eBay. $150 for this beauty. And it works a treat. Eat your heart out, Mishimoto. Other than that, the rest of the swap was basically just wiring. Now, I cannot stress how easy this swap was. And turbo swapping is usually just as easy. Everything is bolt-on. By the way, if you're looking to learn how to swap, this right here is how you start. Now, sure, everything is bolt-on, but you still gotta learn how to actually do things like pull engines and plumb up cooling systems and fit your clutch and wire the swap, especially wiring the swap. This is a pretty low bar for the guys who are new to all this, so while it is easy, it also teaches you a ton about how to actually swap an engine into your car. This is how I learned how to do it, and that allowed me to do even crazier things like LS swap my RX-8 and K-swap my Impreza Coupe. Alright, let's talk about how it runs. I'm kinda torn with this car. Having built some things that are much faster, I do feel a certain way about it. Is it fast? No. My buddy's V6 Accord could walk this thing. But is it slow? No. This thing is leagues faster than it was with that original 2.2 automatic it came with. Now, I will say there's a bit of a gray area here. This engine has VTEC, and I still haven't tuned that in yet, so there's still some room to grow. See, this engine is equipped with what Subaru calls a VCS, or Active Valve Control System. It's what normal people call variable valve timing. It allows you to advance or retard the cam position relative to...
Yo, dude!
That's not VTEC. That's not real VTEC. Only Honda has real VTEC. That's not real VTEC. It's different, and VTEC is what makes my Civic fast and special, and VTEC is different. It's basically a turbo. Only Honda has real VTEC. Nobody else has the real stuff. VTEC is different. Come race me from a roll. Once my VTEC kicks in, I'll smoke you. I smoke Hellcats in my Civic. Come on, pull up to the dig. Once VTEC kicks in, gonna stomp you. VTEC All right,
is basically a turbo.
chill
It
out
makes my
there,
Civic
Honda
really fast
Henry.
and really special.
I got this. He's right. Variable valve timing is not VTEC. VVT works by advancing or retarding the cams relative to the crank, while VTEC, or variable valve lift, switches your engine over to entirely different cam lobes on the fly. This is like how some people use those adjustable cam gears to adjust cam timing, versus how some people switch to whole different cams to get different cam profiles. The difference being, you can do both while the engine is running and tune them how you want. But here's the kicker, Honda boys. This engine has both. Yes, it has VTEC. Don't believe me? Have a listen. If that's not a VTEC engagement, then I don't know what is. Did you hear how loud it was? That means it's tuned like shit, and then I got some work to do. Now I'm real excited to play with VTEC and AVCS, but what I'm gonna do is make a separate video about all of that. So, go and watch it. Especially you, Honda Henry. Now, even with those little tricks, this engine will leave a lot to be desired. I didn't slap this thing in here just to leave it naturally aspirated. I'm still planning what I want to do next. Of course, my mind goes to just slapping a turbo on there, but that seems sort of boring considering what I've done thus far. I've chatted with a few people who have experience with these engines, and they say it can make a reliable 400 horsepower bone stock. If you want more power, you usually got to upgrade to forged internals and have the block closed deck modified, which just isn't something I'm interested in doing right now. So maybe I'll try doing something weird. I don't know. For now, I've got some other upgrades I gotta do, namely the injectors. I went ahead and plumbed up a flex fuel sensor so I can run that sweet, sweet corn juice, but I still have to upgrade my injectors to support additional flow, especially if I want that boost. Which I do. God, I fucking love boost. The rear suspension is also entirely blown, but I'm having a hard time replacing it because it's just so much fun. When you punch it, the thing just fucking squats, which makes it feel like you're going a million miles an hour. Meanwhile, my mom's just passing me in her Malibu, not even knowing we were racing. Hi Mom, I know you're watching, I love you, I'll call you soon. Otherwise, this is a pretty bog standard car. This thing would actually make a pretty great daily. Good power, heated seats. Shit, if I fixed the air conditioning, I'd be pretty tempted to keep this bone stock. But I won't. See, I usually try to post videos when I get to a good stopping point with the project, when I get to a point when I'm gonna stop working on it and drive it for a while, but I'm not finished yet here. I'm still working on things like tuning, VTEC, boosting it, the fuel system. I've still got some work to do. But I figure I could take a little break and show you what I've been working on. I mean, it's running and driving, so that's got to count for something. If anything, I want to use this car as a platform to test and learn on, and I'm hoping to share my findings with you guys along the way. In fact, I already posted an hour-long video about how I wire my swaps, and I used this build as an example. So if you're wondering how I do things like LS swaps and K swaps, and even something as simple as this, go watch that video along with the others in the series. Alrighty, I think that about wraps it up for this car right now. Let me know what you think of this swap and comment any questions you might have below. I've been trying to take more detailed notes about my builds so I can share them with those of you who might want to build something similar. Now this is a pretty simple build, but you can find the notes on this one on my website, linked below. I've got a number of videos planned for this car, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when those go live. Also, follow my socials so you can get updates about my builds and my horrific welds. Alright, I gotta go get to work on tuning this thing. Bye for now. What up, it's me, your local Honda enthusiast. I would spend the next hour telling you about how VTEC is basically a turbocharger and makes you faster than Hellcats, but my night's completely booked with lowballing people on Facebook Marketplace. Even if somebody does accept an offer, I'm just never gonna reply to them. Alright, I gotta go. I'm 30 years old and I gotta pick my girlfriend up from school.